Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. Today we have a super interesting video for you. We're going to explore the fascinating world of Behemoth, that legendary creature which appears in ancient texts and continues to inspire popular culture to this day. In today's video, we're going to uncover the origins of Behemoth in the Bible and other ancient texts. We'll look at how it's represented in books, video games, movies, and even music. Did you know there's a metal band called Behemoth? And what about that epic battle against Behemoth in Final Fantasy? All this and much more coming up. But before we get started, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That way, you won't miss any of our adventures through the world of myths and legends. Oh, and don't forget to hit the bell to get all the notifications. Let's go. Behemoth is a mythological creature of great size and strength, often mentioned in religious literature and ancient texts. The most well-known origin of the Behemoth figure is the Bible, specifically in the Book of Job, where it is described as a powerful beast created by God.
Biblical description.
In the Book of Job, Behemoth is described as a gigantic and imposing creature. Context in Job. In the Book of Job, Job is a righteous man who suffers terrible calamities and questions the reason for his suffering. His friends suggest that he must have sinned to deserve such a fate, but Job defends his innocence. After lengthy discussions, God finally responds to Job, not with a direct explanation, but by highlighting the majesty and complexity of divine creation. In Job 40 verses 15 to 24, God describes Behemoth as one of his creations to demonstrate his power and wisdom. Here are the main points of this description.
Divine creation.
Behold now Behemoth, which I made with thee, Job 40 verse 15. God begins by mentioning that Behemoth was created by him, just as man was. Diet and habitat. He eateth grass as an ox, Job 40 verse 15. Behemoth is described as herbivorous. He leeth under the shady trees, in the covert of the reed, and fens, Job 40 verse 21. He dwells in wet regions full of vegetation. Physicality and strength. Lo now, his strength is in his loins, and his force is in the navel of his belly, Job 40 verse 16. The emphasis is on Behemoth's physical strength and impressive musculature. He moveth his tail like a cedar, Job 40 verse 17. The tail is compared to a cedar, suggesting great size and strength. His bones are as strong pieces of brass. His bones are like bars of iron, Job 40 verse 18. Behemoth's bones are extremely strong, compared to metal. Invincibility and indomitability. He is the chief of the ways of God. He that made him can make his sword to approach unto him, Job 40 verse 19. Behemoth is so powerful that only its creator can confront it. Surely the mountains bring him forth food, where all the beasts of the field play, Job 40 verse 20. He lives in a region abundant in natural resources. Impassibility to external forces. Behold, he drinketh up a river, and hasteth not. He trusteth that he can draw up Jordan into his mouth, Job 40 verse 23. Behemoth remains calm even in the face of great floods. Interpretations and symbolism. Real animal. Some scholars believe that the description of Behemoth may have been inspired by a real animal, such as a hippopotamus or an elephant, due to the similarities in habitat and diet. The physical strength and size also align with these creatures. Hippopotamus. Habitat. Behemoth is described as dwelling by riverbanks, feeding on vegetation, which resembles the behavior of a hippopotamus. Physical strength. The description of strong muscles and the tail may be interpreted as the robustness of the hippopotamus's body, although the comparison of the tail to a cedar is less convincing, as the hippopotamus's tail is short. Safety in water. The reference to Behemoth's calmness, even in turbulent waters, can be associated with the behavior of the aquatic hippopotamus. Elephant. Diet and habitat. Elephants also live near bodies of water and consume large amounts of vegetation. Size and strength. The description of Behemoth's strength and bones could correspond to the immense physical strength of elephants. Tail compared to a cedar. Although an elephant's tail is not particularly long, the reference might be a hyperbole to emphasize the creature's overall grandeur. Behemoth can be seen both as a representation of a real animal used to convey a theological message. Symbolism. Some see Behemoth as a symbol of power and chaos, representing uncontrollable natural forces. In this interpretation, Behemoth serves to illustrate the majesty and power of God, who is capable of creating and controlling even the most formidable creatures. Behemoth in the Book of Enoch. In chapter 60 of 1 Enoch, there is a section that describes both Behemoth and Leviathan, highlighting the magnitude of these creatures and their separation into distinct habitats since creation. Description of Behemoth. Habitat. Behemoth is described as inhabiting the desert, specifically the desert of Duodain, or Dundain. This region is presented as the home of Behemoth from the beginning. Nature and purpose. Behemoth is associated with the land, in contrast to Leviathan, who dwells in the depths of the seas. These creatures are mentioned in an eschatological context, suggesting that they will play a role in the final judgment and the renewal of the world. Context in the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch, especially 1 Enoch, is a collection of apocalyptic writings attributed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah. These texts are rich in visions, prophecies, and descriptions of angelic beings and monstrous creatures, being influential in Jewish tradition and later in certain branches of early Christianity. While in the Book of Job, Behemoth is described with more physical and behavioral details: muscles, bones, tail, diet, etc. In 1 Enoch, the mention is briefer and mainly emphasizes the creature's location and separation since creation. In 1 Enoch, Behemoth appears as an important figure in the apocalyptic context, associated with the land and contrasted with Leviathan, who is linked to the sea. Although the description is not as detailed as in the Book of Job, Behemoth's presence in 1 Enoch contributes to the image of a monumental and primordial creature, playing a significant role in Jewish cosmology and eschatology. Behemoth in the Book of Jubilees. In the Book of Jubilees, Behemoth is mentioned in a context that highlights its role in creation and its designated habitat. The Book of Jubilees, also known as Little Genesis, is an apocryphal work that retells and expands upon the stories of Genesis and Exodus with additional details and specific theological interpretations. Behemoth is mentioned along with Leviathan, similar to 1 Enoch, but with some important differences. Habitat of Behemoth and Leviathan. The Book of Jubilees describes that Behemoth was separated to dwell on the land, specifically in the desert, while Leviathan was designated to inhabit the depths of the seas. This division was made right after creation, highlighting the order established by God over these powerful creatures. Purpose and nature. The creatures are mentioned as part of the divine plan for creation, symbolizing the primordial forces of the land, Behemoth, and the sea, Leviathan. The text suggests that they have a special role in the cosmic order and the eschatological scheme, although it does not go into extensive details about their specific actions at the end of times. Cosmology and theology. The mention of Behemoth and Leviathan in the Book of Jubilees reflects a dualistic view of the world, where opposing forces coexist under divine supervision. This duality is a common feature in Jewish apocalyptic literature, symbolizing the balance between different aspects of creation, significance and interpretation, separation and order. The separation of Behemoth and Leviathan into different habitats underscores the divine intention to create an orderly and balanced world. Behemoth, associated with dry land, and Leviathan, associated with the deep waters, represent this dichotomy and the breadth of God's creative power. Eschatological role. Although the Book of Jubilees does not provide many details about Behemoth's specific role at the end of times, the association with Leviathan and the mention in an apocalyptic context suggest that these creatures have significant symbolic importance in the Jewish eschatological narrative. Comparing with other works like the Book of Enoch and the Book of Job, the Book of Jubilees emphasizes more the organization of the cosmos and the role of the creatures in maintaining the order established by God. The description is less about the physical characteristics of Behemoth and more about its place in the overall scheme of creation. Behemoth in the Talmud. In the Talmud, Behemoth is mentioned in a few passages that explore the greatness and eschatological destiny of this creature, often in conjunction with Leviathan. These references are not as extensive as the descriptions found in the Book of Job, but are rich in symbolism and interpretative value in Jewish literature.
Trashtate Baba Batra 74b.
This is one of the most detailed mentions of Behemoth in the Talmud. In the tractate Baba Batra, Behemoth is described as a huge creature that God created along with Leviathan. The passage highlights the grandeur of these creatures and mentions that at the end of times, God will kill them and serve their meat at a banquet for the righteous. The narrative includes an image of Behemoth grazing on 1,000 mountains, symbolizing its enormous strength and size. It is also mentioned that Behemoth and Leviathan were created on the sixth day, emphasizing their special role in creation. Tractate Avodah Zarah 3b. Another reference to Behemoth in the Talmud is in the Tractate Avodah Zarah. This passage mentions Behemoth in the context of a discussion about what God does after the creation of the world. It is said that God creates monsters for the end of times, among which Behemoth and Leviathan are the most notable. This reference reinforces the idea that these creatures have a significant eschatological role. Symbolism and interpretation. Grandeza e poder de Deus. The mentions of Behemoth in the Talmud emphasize the grandeur of God's creation. Behemoth is often used as an example of God's immeasurable strength and power, being capable of creating and controlling such enormous creatures. Banquet of the righteous. The idea that Behemoth will be served at the banquet of the righteous at the end of times appears in various passages. This banquet symbolizes the divine reward for the righteous and the triumph of good over evil. The fact that Behemoth and Leviathan are served at this banquet underscores their symbolic and eschatological importance. Balance and duality. Similar to the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, the Talmud presents Behemoth and Leviathan as representations of the forces of the land and the sea, respectively. This duality emphasizes the balance of creation and the breadth of divine power over all parts of the cosmos. Behemoth in popular culture. Behemoth appears in popular culture in various forms, reflecting its origin as a creature of immense strength and power. From literature and games to films and music, Behemoth has been reinterpreted and adapted for new contexts. Here are some notable examples of how Behemoth is depicted in popular culture. Literature. Paradise Lost by John Milton. Behemoth is mentioned in this 17th century epic as a representation of brute strength and indomitable power. Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. In Good Omens, Behemoth appears as one of the demons summoned for Armageddon, maintaining the image of a creature of immense strength. Video games. Final Fantasy series. Behemoth is a recurring creature in the Final Fantasy games, often depicted as a giant and powerful monster that players must face in battles. Monster Hunter series. In the game Monster Hunter World, Behemoth is a special monster introduced as part of a crossover event, presenting a significant challenge for players. Movies and TV series. Godzilla. King of the Monsters, 2019. Behemoth appears as one of the new Titans awakened, with an appearance reminiscent of a mix between a mammoth and a giant gorilla, reinforcing the idea of a colossal and powerful creature. Animated series and anime. Behemoth frequently appears in various animated series and anime, sometimes as a monster or a powerful entity that heroes must face. Music. Behemoth. Metal band. The Polish black/death metal band Behemoth, formed in 1991, uses the name to evoke images of power and grandeur. The band's lyrics often explore themes of mythology, religion, and power. Comics. Marvel and DC Universe. In superhero comics, Behemoth or similar creatures may appear as formidable adversaries for heroes, often representing significant physical challenges. Role-playing games, RPGs. Dungeons & Dragons. In the Dungeons & Dragons universe, Behemoth can be used as inspiration for monsters or colossal creatures that players encounter in their adventures. Pathfinder. Similar to Dungeons & Dragons, Behemoth can be found in adventures and bestiaries, presenting a great challenge for player characters. Art and culture. Illustrations and sculptures. Artists often create visual representations of Behemoth, inspired by biblical and literary descriptions. These artworks capture the grandeur and mystery of the creature. Modern mythologies and legends. Behemoth is frequently incorporated into modern mythologies and legends, serving as a symbol of uncontrollable power or a challenge to be overcome. Conclusion. Behemoth is a fascinating figure that permeates mythology, religion, and popular culture. Its image as a creature of overwhelming power continues to capture the imagination and inspire varied interpretations, from theological symbolism to representations in fiction and entertainment. And that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this incredible journey through the world of Behemoth, from its ancient roots to its appearances in modern pop culture. It was fascinating to see how this legendary creature continues to capture the imagination in so many different ways, wasn't it? If you liked the video, don't forget to leave your like. It really helps the channel and shows that you want more content like this. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take this opportunity to subscribe now and become part of our community. Don't forget to activate the bell to receive all notifications and stay updated on our next adventures. So, what do you think of Behemoth? Is there any other legendary creature you'd like to see here? Leave your suggestions in the comments below. We love hearing your opinions and getting new ideas.